धृष्टकेतुश्चेकितानः काशीराजश्च वीर्यवान् पुरुजित्कुन्तिभोजश्च शैब्यश्च नरपुङ्गवः युधामन्युश्च विक्रान्तः उत्तमौजाश्च वीर्यवान् सौभद्रो द्रौपदेयाश्च सर्व एव महारथाः अस्माकं तु विशिष्टाये तान्निबोध द्विजोत्तमा नायका मम सैन्यस्य संज्ञार्थं तान् ब्रवीमि ते भवान् भीष्मश्च कर्णश्च कृपश्च समितिञ्जयः अश्वत्थामा विकर्णश्च सौमदत्तिस्तथैव च अन्ये च बहवः शूराः मदर्थे त्यक्तजीविताः नानाशस्त्रप्रहरणाः सर्वे युद्धविशारदाः अपर्याप्तं तदस्माकं बलं भीष्माभिरक्षितम् पर्याप्तं त्विदमेतेषां बलं भीमाभिरक्षितम् अयनेषु च सर्वेषु यथा भागमवस्थिताः भीष्ममेवाभिरक्षन्तु भवन्तः सर्व एव हि तस्य सञ्जनयन् हर्षम् कुरु वृद्धः पितामहः सिंहनादं विनद्योच्चैः शङ्खं दद्मौ प्रतापवान् ततः शङ्खाश्च भैर्यश्च पणवानकगोमुखाः सहसैवाभ्यहन्यन्त सशब्दस्तु मुलोऽभवत् ततः श्वेतैर्हयैर्युक्ते महति स्यन्दने स्थितौ माधवः पाण्डवश्चैव दिव्यौ शङ्खौ प्रदध्मतुः पाञ्चजन्यं हृषीकेशः देवदत्तं धनञ्जयः पौण्ड्रं दद्मौ महाशङ्खं भीमकर्मा वृकोदरः अनन्तविजयं राजा कुन्तीपुत्रो युधिष्ठिरः नकुलः सहदेवश्च सुघोषमणिपुष्पकौ काश्यश्च परमेश्वासः शिखण्डे च महारथः धृष्टद्युम्नो विराटश्च सात्यकिश्चापराजितः द्रुपदो द्रौपदेयाश्च सर्वशः पृथिवीपते सौभद्रश्च महाबाहुः शङ्खान् दद्मुः पृथक् पृथक् सघोषो धार्तराष्ट्राणाम् हृदयानि व्यदारयत् नभश्च पृथिवीं चैव तुमुलो व्यनुनादयन् अथ व्यवस्थितान् दृष्ट्वा धार्तराष्ट्रान् कपिध्वजः प्रवृत्ते शस्त्रसम्पाते धनुरुद्यम्य पाण्डवः ऋषिकेशं तदा वाक्यम् इदमाह महीपते अर्जुन उवाच सेनयोरुभयोर्मध्ये रथं स्थापयाम्यच्युत यावदेतान् निरीक्षेऽहम् योद्धुकामानवस्थितान् कैर्मया सह योद्धव्यम् अस्मिन् रणसमुद्यमे योत्स्यमानानवेक्षेऽहम् य एतेऽत्र समागताः धार्तराष्ट्रस्य दुर्बुद्धेः युद्धे प्रियचिकीर्षवः। सञ्जय उवाच एवमुक्तो हृषीकेशः गुडाकेशेन भारत सेनयोरुभयोर्मध्ये स्थापयित्वा रथोत्तमम् भीष्मद्रोणप्रमुखतः सर्वेषां च महीक्षिताम् उवाच पार्थ पश्येताम् समवेतान् कुरूनिति।
It doesn't matter that 20 doctors, if
Venuji, that video is over. I can't hear you. 1 minute.
You can repeat it or you can play one more. You can just repeat it.
Okay.
अथ प्रथमोऽध्यायः धृतराष्ट्र उवाच धर्मक्षेत्रे कुरुक्षेत्रे समवेतायुयुत्सवः मामकाः पाण्डवाश्चैव किमकुर्वत सञ्जय। सञ्जय उवाच दृष्ट्वा तु पाण्डवानीकम् व्यूढं दुर्योधनस्तदा आचार्यमुपसङ्गम्य राजा वचनमब्रवीत् पश्यैतां पाण्डुपुत्राणाम् आचार्यमहतीं च व्यूढां द्रुपदपुत्रेण तव शिष्येण धीमता अत्र शूरा महेश्वासा भीमार्जुनसमायुधि युयुधानो विराटश्च द्रुपदश्च महारथः धृष्टकेतुश्चेकितानः काशीराजश्च वीर्यवान् पुरुजित् कुन्तिभोजश्च शैब्यश्च।
It's 5 o'clock.
नरपुङ्गवः।
Tusharji,
I will stop sharing.
Yeah, I think he's going to join in a couple of minutes, Divyadeep ji, so we'll just continue this. Maybe
Okay.
two more minutes.
Yes.
युधामन्युश्च विक्रान्तः उत्तमौजाश्च वीर्यवान् सौभद्रो द्रौपदेयाश्च सर्व एव महारथाः अस्माकं तु विशिष्टाये तान्निबोध द्विजोत्तमा नायका मम सैन्यस्य संज्ञार्थं तान् ब्रवीमि ते भवान् भीष्मश्च कर्णश्च कृपश्च समितिञ्जयः अश्वत्थामा विकर्णश्च सौमदत्तिस्तथैव च अन्ये च बहवः शूराः मदर्थे त्यक्तजीविताः नानाशस्त्रप्रहरणाः सर्वे युद्धविशारदाः अपर्याप्तं तदस्माकं बलं भीष्माभिरक्षितम् पर्याप्तं त्विदमेतेषां बलं भीमाभिरक्षितम् अयनेषु च सर्वेषु यथा भागमवस्थिताः भीष्ममेवाभिरक्षन्तु भवन्तः सर्व एव हि तस्य सञ्जनयन् हर्षम् कुरु वृद्धः पितामहः सिंहनादं विनद्योच्चैः शङ्खं दद्मौ प्रतापवान् ततः शङ्खाश्च भैर्यश्च पणवानकगोमुखाः सहसैवाभ्यहन्यन्त सशब्दस्तु मुलोऽभवत् ततः श्वेतैर्हयैर्युक्ते महति स्यन्दने स्थितौ माधवः पाण्डवश्चैव दिव्यौ शङ्खौ प्रदध्मतुः पाञ्चजन्यं हृषीकेशः देवदत्तं धनञ्जयः पौण्ड्रं दद्मौ महाशङ्खं भीमकर्मावृकोदरः अनन्तविजयं राजा कुन्ती पुत्रो युधिष्ठिरः नकुलः सहदेवश्च सुघोषमणिपुष्पकौ काश्यश्च परमेश्वासः शिखण्डी च महारथः धृष्टद्युम्नो विराटश्च सात्यकिश्चापराजितः द्रुपदो द्रौपदेयाश्च सर्वशः पृथिवीपते सौभद्रश्च महाबाहुः शङ्खान् दद्मुः पृथक् पृथक् सघोषो धार्तराष्ट्राणाम् हृदयानि व्यदारयत् नभश्च पृथिवीं चैव तुमुलो व्यनुनादयन् अथ व्यवस्थितान् दृष्ट्वा धार्तराष्ट्रान् कपिध्वजः प्रवृत्ते शस्त्रसम्पाते धनुरुद्यम्य पाण्डवः ऋषिकेशं तदा वाक्यम् इदमाह महीपते अर्जुन उवाच सेनयोरुभयोर्मध्ये रथं स्थापयामेच्युत यावदेतान्निरीक्षेऽहम् योद्धुकामानवस्थितान् कैर्मया सह योद्धव्यम्.
All right. I think I saw Divyadeep ji's name in the participation list.
Good evening, everyone. Good afternoon. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, go ahead. Divyadeep ji, all yours.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone, for joining today for a session on the relevance of Bhagavad-Gita during the times of coronavirus. And a few ground rules before I introduce Dr. Purnaprasad. This is an interactive session. So if you have any questions, please raise your hand on the Zoom app at the lower corner. I will then unmute you specifically to carry on the interaction with Dr. Purnaprasad ji. I will try to get to all those who have raised their hands. If you also want to type your question, that is also okay. And just to make it more interactive, I will unmute those that have questions. And this is also being live streamed on Facebook. Now, it is with my utmost pleasure that I, on behalf of the Vichar Manthan of Sacramento, bring to you Dr. Purnaprasad. Dr. Purnaprasad was born into a family of philosophers and Harikstha exponents. He comes from the lineage of the greatest Hari Dasaru Shri Purandara Dasaru. His grandfather, Vidwan Gopinath Das, was a pioneer in the field of Harikatha, Bharatiya music and theatre. His great-grandfather, Vidwan Venugopala Dasaru, was a doyen in the field of Haridasa literature and Vedic sciences. Exposed to the Vedic way of life and learning at a very young age, Dr. Prasad developed a passion for studying the science behind the Vedic literature. He came under the tutelage of Dr. Bananji Govindacharya while preparing for the lead role in the movie Madhavacharya. The movie Madhavacharya won the Bharat National Award and the European Film Festival Award. Since then, Dr. Govindacharya, a pioneer in the knowledge of Vedic literature, continues to mentor Dr. Prasad as he researches, learns, and propagates the connection between Vedic science and modern science. Apart from philosophy, his other passions are music and technology. Dr. Prasad is a proficient musician, and his gurus include Pandit Sri Ravi Shankar, Pandit Vijaya Raghava Rao, Dr. M. Balamurali Krishna, and Sri Vayapuri Devar. Dr. Prasad founded the Artistic Academy, PAMPA, in the US and was instrumental in scripting dance drama themes based on the Upanishads, Puranas, Ramayana, and Mahabharata. Dr. Prasad has lectured on the topic of the science behind Madhava Vedanta, the relevance of Bhagavad Gita to daily living, and understanding Vedanta through the lens of modern science. Dr. Purnaprasad holds a bachelor's degree in electrical engineering, a master's degree in biomedical engineering, and a PhD in information technology. Now, over to Dr. Purnaprasad.
Thank you very much for your very kind introduction. You see, my mentor and my Guruji, Vidya Vachaspati, Dr. Bananji Govindacharya in my background, paying my utmost respect to his holy feet. I would just like to start today's session with a brief prayer and then open up the discussion. This prayer is to Vedavyasara, Lord Vedavyasara, who scripted the Bhagavad Gita, and his ardent devotee, Acharya Madhvaru, who was instrumental in basically bringing the truth in front of us, especially the truth of reality. So let's pray. Harihi Om Jayatu Parashara Sonuhu Satyavati Hridayandano Vyasaha Yasya Asya Kamalagaditam Vangmayam Amritam Jagat Pibati Bhujaga Bhogavamudyamya Hridyam Nijabujam Dakshinam Lakshanadhyam Lalita Mudrikta Vignana Mudram Bhaja Bhaja Anantamitya Alapantam Pranatavan Praninam Pranabhutam Pranatibhi Prinaye Purnabodham Bhavadavoshnena Tatapyamanan Bhuviparam Natham Aprekshamanan Bhuvanamanyena Chanyena Doshna Bhavatu Bhirma Itina Santvayantam Pranatavan Praninam Pranabhutam Pranatibhi Prinaye Purnabodham Narayanam Suragurum Jagadekanatham Bhakta Priyam Sakalaloka Namaskritancha Traigunya-varjitamajam vibhumadhyamisham Vande Bhavagnam Amarasura Siddhavandyam Narayanam Namaskritya Naranchaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudeva. Bhagavad Gita, the word itself is so simple. It is the song for the universe by the universal energy, Bhagavan. We call him Krishna, and various people call him from different names, from different areas of this universe. It is all one God, and it is Krishna for us. What is this song? We actually heard Bhagavad Gita being played by our Adhyatma Bandhus, but that is Bhagavad Gita coming from outside to inside through our ears, maybe reading the scripture through our eyes and then computing it in our mind and storing it in our chitta, which actually is our memory shell. But Krishna says Bhagavad Gita is playing both ways. It is also from outside and inside the Bhagavad Gita is playing, because every living being, especially human beings, have a Kurukshetra that is going on inside the human body. The 5 Jnanendriyas, the 5 Panchendriyas are continuously fighting against these 100 Kauravas led by the famous Arishad Varga, Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsara, everything that you don't want. So there is a Kurukshetra inside. There is a Bhagavad Gita inside. There is a Bhagavad Gita outside because there is a Kurukshetra outside. And now we are actually fighting one of the biggest enemies, not from outside, but from inside, called as COVID-19. These Kauravas keep on multiplying. They never stop. Hence, Bhagavad Gita is very relevant even for today and for the future, because it basically makes you the human being from the physiology point of view, from the anatomy point of view, from the spiritual point of view, and from the whole human form that you are. If you do not have that strength, we lose the battle. So we have Krishna inside, outside, everywhere, leading us. Antarbahishcha tatsarvam vyapya narayana stitaha. And on the flag of Krishna, who is there? Mukhya Prana is there. Well, and here we are, the Arjunas facing this battle. How do we deal with it? How do we understand this? How do we basically make sure that we have an unbiased approach to it? Because you come with a bias, then you're bringing your limited learning into it. And your limited learning only goes so far, then you fail, you get into a depression. But how do we basically, as spectators of this drama called life, which is unraveling in front of us, how do we become an active participant on the side of righteousness? We become Arjuna by sitting inside the chariot that is being driven by Krishna. For that, we need to first trust Krishna 100%. For that, we need to know who Krishna is. It's simple. It's that inner voice which always tells you what the right is. This inner voice is there with everybody. But alas, we are not aware of that inner voice. There is outer voice telling us all the time what's right, what's wrong. We are not aware of it. We do not want to think, because we've got 3 wonderful helpers who come with us to help us not to listen to Krishna, and those are called I, me, myself. So how do we basically get out of this biggest black hole called I, me, myself, and really start hearing Krishna's voice, Krishna's Gita, and Krishna's melodious Bansuri, so that we can together, in a scientific way, bear the brunt of the coronavirus right now, which actually is the Duryodhana. Unfortunately, it is inside, not just outside. And then come out successful, victorious, and as better people. I would like to offer that as the thesis for today's discussion. And rather than me just churning out shlokas and trying to just give you the fundamental formulas, let's see through a dialogue if we can really plow into the wisdom of the Bhagavad Gita as given by Krishna and apply to our today's scenario as we fight this great battle of a pandemic called COVID-19. With that, I would like to open up the forum for your questions, and I will do my best to give a perspective. Hopefully that will work.
Thank you, Dr. Purnaprasad. We've received one question that I'd like to start with. And the question is how to remain unattached when you're concerned for your family and friends in this time of coronavirus.
Yeah. You cannot just remain unattached. So what does Krishna say? Krishna basically says you need to have a detached attachment. So what's a detached attachment? It is just don't be over attached. You cannot run away from the responsibilities. That is basically a traitor, a failure. But you need to stay in the family, in the samsara, but do not get over attached to it. The reason? It's not permanent. What's permanent are only two aspects here. It is you who is inside, not this body. The body goes away, and that all encompassing energy, Brahma. So the way to do it is, yes, I love my family. I want to do the best, protect them. But for that, oh Krishna, give me the strength and protect them by sitting inside me. Then you won't take the responsibility, because once you take the responsibility, you're responsible for the fruits. And when those fruits do not, come to you, you get dejected and disappointed, just like what Arjuna went through. So to remain detached, you need to have a detached attachment. That means to say, no over attachment. Take it for what it is worth. Whether it is your wife, your children, you do your best and leave the results, karmanyamadikarasti, to the Supreme. Because he or she or it is the one which is unraveling in front of us.
Thank you, Dr. Purnaprasad. I've received two more questions which are very similar in nature. The question is, everyone has to get the results of their karma. So all the people that are dying in this crisis, as well as in the past crises that have happened, are they all subject to their past actions? And the other related question on this is,
Go ahead.
yeah, as per our actions, our Ved and Gita say we get results. Coronavirus killed more than 70,000 people in the US. We can't imagine so many people's actions in past or past life were such that those resulted in their such miserable death. Please provide the defense how it is explained on the background of the principles of Gita as stated above in the beginning.
Okay, so let's take it one question at a time. Can you repeat the first question so all of us will place ourselves in the same sheet?
Yeah. The question is, everyone has to get the results of their karma. So all the people that are dying in this crisis, as well as the other crisis, are they all subject to their past actions and are therefore suffering this?
Wonderful. So you all have basic knowledge of physics, right? So with the very first law of Newton, an object stays at rest and remains at rest. And an object in motion continues its motion until and unless it is acted upon by an external force. That object is actually we, the humans. The external force that acts on it are the results of the actions that we are doing. So when it comes to karma, there are three types of karma. One, which we have done in the past. Second one, which we are currently doing. And third one, the results of our past action, which is unraveling with this. So there are three components. According to these three components and the innate nature of the jiva, you basically get to experience the results, the karma. People who actually are leaving this body or dying, 100% are this result of this integrated, in a very simple term, it's very deep, but I'm just trying to cover it, as fast as possible, of these different three different karmas and their jiva swabhava. So it's very, very scientific. There is no, mystery over here. And every human body is timed to only last for a certain amount of time. As soon as that karma is over, the inside energy, the jiva, leaves the body. And as you know, this body is jada. Immediately it falls down and then goes back to the 5 elements it actually originated from. Dust to dust. Second question, sir.
Okay. Second question was, as per our actions, our Ved and Gita says that we get results. Now, coronavirus has taken a huge toll in the US with more than 70,000 people dying. We can't imagine so many people's actions in the past or past life were such that those resulted in their such miserable death. Please provide the defense on how it is explained on the background on the principles of Gita as stated above.
Absolutely. What you experience is a result of the karma. And these 70,000 corona deaths are the result of karma, no second word about it. If you just look at the past, if you look at the Kurukshetra battle, within 18 days, 50 lakh people lost their lives. With Krishna right there in front of them. He just stood there laughing because karma has to run its course. It's not the number of people who are dying. For example, if you look at the statistics of how many people die in the universe, either here in the US or anywhere else, because of cardiac problems, because of neurological problems, cancer, it is as big as any coronavirus. The only thing is we are not aware of it. And because of this pandemic infection, it has got the attention that it is getting, and we are being aware of it. See, the numbers are not the most important thing here, but once you get the awareness of those numbers. And there's a very beautiful story or a moral that Guru Bananjay used to tell us. He used to say, if there is a train accident and the number of casualties are published in the paper, the first thing we look for is, do we know anybody who actually succumbed in that tragedy? Don't you think that whether it is someone whom we know or we don't know, a loss of a life is to be really saddening and one needs to repent for it. But we don't do that because the sensitivity we have towards mind, ourselves, and our people only.
Thank you. We have the next question is, Arjuna fell into a state of grief foreseeing the massacre about to take place and reluctant to shoot his weapons at his family members, friends, and teachers, he decided to relinquish the war altogether. Now, in this moment of crisis, Arjuna turned to his friend and charioteer Sri Krishna for counsel. And thus the Bhagavad Gita was spoken. Who do we turn to at this time in this crisis?
Krishna. Krishna is there. He's always there. He's omnipotent, omniscient, and omnipresent. This very forum that he has created for us to discuss the words of wisdom that Krishna has given to us itself is an indication that he is right there, sitting inside you, sitting inside me, hearing, talking, and trying to build that wisdom inside us, the nerves of wisdom, in order to face the pandemic. And one more important thing, what devastated Arjuna is because his name is going to be thumb-tagged as the person who killed his grandfather, his guru, and his cousins. So there, it was not just the death, it was him being responsible for the death that caused the problem for him. Again, that I, me, myself. The entire first chapter, Sage Vedavyasa shows that Krishna doesn't utter a single word. It is Arjuna trying to basically qualify and then convince Krishna this whole battle is wrong because I, me, myself, I, me, myself. It's because I'm going to get this. I don't want this. And Krishna wanted to first cut that out completely, because it is not you who is going to decide, not you who is going to do the action. Without me sitting inside you, you can do nothing. Once I leave, you are just a dead wood, which is going to be cremated. But Arjuna didn't get that sense until Krishna opened his mouth in the second chapter, and he begins with really a very powerful blow. Hatova prapsasi swargam, jitva va bokshase mahim, tasmad uttishta kaunteya, yuddhaya kritanischaya. Because it is for us. You cannot sit down dejected because the coronavirus is spreading. You got to do your best in order to serve the greater good. A beautiful definition for dharma. How can I serve people? How can I help? And they say, quarantine yourself. Yes. Do not go out. Yes. Wash your hands. Yes. All these are satkarmas, that is lending itself to curb and prevent the spread of the virus. There you go. That's exactly what. You have to get up. Uttishta kaunteya. Because this yuddha is already there. And in this fight, if you die, you are going to attain the swarga. But if you leave, you will basically have the body, the sadhaka body, in order to worship and then gain deeper knowledge of the divines. As simple as that. Either way, there is no loss, because your fight is for dharma. What is dharma now? We need to basically completely flatten the curve and get the infection rate to 0, and then able to sustain it so that this never takes a second wave.
We have a question from Krishna Kenhal. I'm going to be unmuting him. His question is, why Uddhav Gita is not popular? Is it because it has no relevance in today's world?
No, it is absolutely fully relevant. In fact, it's very beautiful, and there are a lot of things said there, almost 1,300 verses or something. More, Bhagavad Gita is about 700. So Uddhava Gita, the beautiful thing here is, we always go by the name, right? If there are two movies, one by Amitabh Bachchan and then another by a lesser known actor, we always try to go and see Amitabh Bachchan's movie first. So this is the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna himself, bearing his name, and that too in one of the worst possible situations. And the result in terms of death was disastrous, but dharma was upheld. Whereas for Uddhava Gita, it was at the end of Krishna's incarnation. Krishna was ready to leave his body, and he wanted to give those last words of wisdom to Uddhava and asked him to go to Badari and then basically convey this message and communicate this with the rishis in Badari. So Uddhava is the only one who basically really was alive after the entire Yadavas fought themselves and then basically died. And Uddhava Gita, that's why Bhagavad Gita is very famous. It's the name, it's the scene, and it's basically the episode happens in the worst of the possible circumstances. That's the reason. It's got, what can I say, more star power, if you may.
Krishna Kenhal, do you have any follow-up on
Yeah,
that answer?
Yeah, thank you so much. Only one follow-up question with regard to that is, are there any overlapping between Uddhava Gita and Bhagavad Gita?
Yes, lots of them, and plus more. There, Krishna basically, gives some of the messages for the sustenance as we go forward. And, because the Kali Yuga will have come by that time, right? On the last day of the Kurukshetra war, Kali Yuga will have dawned. So how do we conduct ourselves? It is very practical, very beautiful. And even there, he stresses that you are a spectator. Do not take the ownership of the conduction of this drama. You are just an actor and a spectator, and then take it, samadarshinaha, pandita samadarshinaha. Be a pandita because look at it unbiased. We can discuss more about this unbiased. And that is something he stresses and gives examples in Uddhava Gita in much more detail. And Uddhava Gita is more for the daily living in the Kali Yuga, which actually is a different, which has a different set of paradigms, and if you may, ecosystem and constitutional, natural constitutional laws.
Thank you.
Sure. All right. Next question is from Ajit. I will repeat Ajit's question. Actually, sorry, this is from Shriram. Shriram says, and his question is, Krishna says that dharma will be established again and again whenever it diminishes. And the current situation seems like it is rebalancing of human activity. Is that so?
Definitely possible. Unfortunately, none of us, even though everything is predetermined, none of us know what that predetermined variables and the laws are. And absolutely, the rebalancing one could experience and see, with the environment getting clean, air getting clean, water getting cleaned, and all these natural wild animals who are really afraid and really hiding in the forest coming out to check out what's happening. So you see this entire, evolution of a cleanup that is basically happening. Absolutely, it's a great point. And even in the scientific literature, if you see in some of the publications I've read, they have started seeing this as almost like a cleanup. And they're, which we should not call it a genocide or anything, but it definitely is a cleanup of the environment. And look at what it has done to our daily life. Everything now is, through online technology. Instead of me coming and sitting with you maybe in a hall and having these great discussions, we are doing the same thing sitting at home. Even though we had the technology for a long time, it never came into full practice. And this one event has completely changed the way we conduct our lives, our daily lives. And that again is an action of the divine. One needs to accept it and then move on. You cannot just say the virus was so bad. Again, what is bad and good? We'll talk about it. That's a very interesting concept that Krishna teaches us.
Thank you. I will make Ajit on unmute. I'll unmute him. Ajit, I think you had a follow-up question. Please go ahead.
I think you haven't unmuted him.
Ajit, you're unmuted now.
Oh, okay, sorry. Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Actually, a follow-up question means I have a different question. At least in India, what I see is there is a juggernaut of westernization and English media taking over the next generation. Even the people who we know, their kids are going to English school, English medium, leave alone the mother tongue. Sanskrit is far kind of going back. I sometimes feel sadly that is this a losing battle that we are going ahead, that our culture, our great culture, 4 generations down the line with this juggernaut of westernization, which we have never seen in last 100, 500 years, has wiped out in last 20 years. How do we withstand all this? I feel sad that we are going to lose, or I'll be very sad if that happens.
Great question, Ajitji. Yes, there is always tremendous influence of the easy path out, of the luxurious path out, but one needs to really look at the history. The Vedas have stood the impact of 10,000 years, and the Bhagavad Gita itself has stood the impact of 5,000 years. And you do see a lot of, Western civilizations here adopting Bhagavad Gita and then getting scholarship in that. And if you look at many of the Bhagavad Gita scholars themselves, so yes, they will get on to the Western way of life, which is an easy way of life, which they really enjoy. But my humble opinion, there is going to be a point where they realize that the wisdom of the ancients is the only one that's going to stay with them. And we have seen it even when we were actually doing our graduate studies, undergraduate studies. The impact of the other cultures were very, very big. It was nothing compared to now, but there was heavy impact. But you do see people of my age, my friends, everybody slowly coming back and say, okay, so been there, done that, and I've seen what it is. But you keep talking, or I keep hearing about the Vedas, the Upanishads, the Bhagavad Gita. I see the Gita being, a big thing even in the West. What is it? And in my humble opinion, of course, blessings of Krishna, I don't think we will lose it. There's always going to be the foreign invasion. How many times Bharata has been invaded and they have tried to destroy everything. But it basically just sustains. That is the power of knowledge. But there is some things that we are going to lose. There are a lot of Vedic commentaries that we have lost. We have actually lost the Mula Ramayana. What we have is just the Valmiki Ramayana. We've lost the Mula Ramayana completely. So that loss, those losses, Ajitji, 100%, very painful. But unfortunately, that's what is destined for us. Again, we need to have insight that this is something that Krishna is leading us. There are some things that he wants us to have. There are some things that he doesn't want to have. So it's not in our hands. We do our best, not that we should basically sit benign. We actually try to, propagate the words of the wisdom of the Vedas, the Upanishads, the Gita, right from their younger days. But how it takes shape and then how it actually becomes a fabric of our kids is left to Krishna himself.
Thank you, sir. My more fear was, I was not worried about the foreign invasion. Our within house itself is crumbling. Basically, that's where our society is not making any efforts to retain our culture. That's what I was worried. I'm very positive that we will face the foreign invaders fine, but our house is collapsing. That's where I was little worried. But you answered, yeah, we have a something to look for, and things will survive. Hopefully.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Purnaprasad. Sandeep Gangadharan has a two-part question, and I will be unmuting him shortly. His first question is, when does the Atma enter the body? And the second part is it true that memories of past life can be regressed?
Very nice questions. So, this is very scientific, right? I mean, if there are doctors in the panel, they can understand this much better. They do this for a living. As soon as the semen from the male fertilizes the egg in the female, the cells start dividing. Now, cells also divide in other cases. If the cells divide without this interaction, then we call that as cancer. But here, it's going to come out as a beautiful baby, the beauty of the creation. So if you look at the Upanishad, what does it say? It basically says, our jiva is uncreated because it is a quanta of energy. Energy can neither be created nor destroyed, from the laws of thermodynamics. So this jiva, when it leaves the body, when the body has withered away and the anatomy and the physiology of the body is no more functional, then the energy leaves the body and then is basically in the atmosphere. And it actually enters into the things that we eat. They call it as anna. Goes into the anna that we all eat. And that anna in the male gets converted into virya, which is semen. And then the jiva basically, fertilizes the egg, and then it starts reproducing. But there's one very important thing here. This entire ecosystem of dynamics of the propagation of the jiva outside the body into the atmosphere, into our consumables, into the masculine body, everything happens because of Pranadeva, which actually is the basic energy according to the constitutional laws that are laid by the Paramatma. So in that ecosystem, our Pranadevaru, which actually is the enabler of that energy, gives the movement. And this movement of repeated births and deaths goes on until all your karmas, according to the innate characteristics of your jiva swabhava, comes to a complete fulfillment, called as Purnata. So what is Purnata? It's very simple. When does an atom stop combining with other atoms to form molecules? When the outermost shell of the electrons are completely satisfied, forming covalent and electrovalent bonds. Very similarly, when the jiva is completely realized, they call it as Purnate, it actually has reached complete stability, and that is basically when it becomes a part of the divine. It doesn't become the divine, be very careful there, a part of the divine. And of course, they call it as the divine is the object, and the jiva is the reflection, bimba, pratibimba.
Thank you.
Second question, I don't think I got the second question.
Yeah, the second question is about regression, past life regression. Can we go back and understand, can the memories of past life be regressed?
Yes, definitely yes. Through meditation, first, number one, you need to understand your GPS. We haven't understood that. We don't know who we are. Right now, you call me Purnaprasad, I say what? Now that Purnaprasad is a name attached to this body, which is very temporary. So what is that inside which is running this Purnaprasad? What is its innate characteristics? Until I basically know that, I won't be able to, until I know my GPS, I don't know where I came from, right? If I'm at home, I know that I'm at home. I know that I just came from my office. But if I don't know where I am, it's very difficult to know where I came from. Yes, absolutely. It is possible to regress as well as basically see your presence also, just the present, without the influence of the past or the future. But for this, you basically need to know, they call it as Unmani Bhava. You have to stop the thought process and you need to know who you are first. And this whole journey of realizing who you are, the tapas that Krishna says, is the process of self-realization. And that's what he's helping Arjuna to do. Arjuna, first know who you are. Then you will understand why you need to act the way I'm telling you to act. You cannot know me until you know who you are.
Thank you. Sandeep, would you like to follow up with any of the questions?
Divyaji. I'm good.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right.
Sure.
Thank you. Over to next. Next, I will be unmuting Lakshmi. She has a question to ask directly. So please go ahead.
Namaskara Purna, this is Lakshmi Rao from Sacramento. What a coincidence. New York, I have heard April showers, but New York is snowing today in May. And you came as a enlightened person for us today and talking about this. And regarding Bhagavad Gita, I talk to my kids all the time, referring to this. How can we talk to them the word Sthita Prajna? You just be what we are and do the things, or is there anything learning from Bhagavad Gita? What we can tell?
Absolutely. In fact, you have to speak the language of your kids. If your kids like rap music, convert Bhagavad Gita into rap music and sing it to them. It will get to them much faster. Number one. Number two, you need to introduce Bhagavad Gita as basically a life experience. This is what happens. Do not introduce them the Gita as a religious text. Nobody will basically, accept this. Oh my God, these guys are talking about something that they don't know. They themselves do not understand. So when I talk to the kids, here are some of the techniques that Guru Bananjay has taught us. This is a battlefield. This is like the Second World War. Oh my God. And you know what's happened? Unfortunately, the opposing forces are related to each other. This is the type of scenario you need to start slowly. So for a kid who is 10 years old, this is just a battlefield. This is like any of the comic books that he basically reads. But what needs to come out is the moral. What is Krishna telling Arjuna to help him? Don't go to Sthita Prajna and Brahmagyani, all those. Even we don't understand it very clearly. But at their level, once they develop an interest, then slowly as they grow up, you can start qualifying the deeper meaning behind it. But in the beginning, it is just the battle. The way actually Ghatotkacha came and then helped out. Abhimanyu came and helped out. What a hero. They always love heroes. And how Arjuna's transformation when he fought, how brave they were, but how they basically respected the laws of the battle. You need to touch those nerves at that age so that they understand the battle with respect to today's scenario. They are very aware of the terrorist attacks. They are very aware of what bad people are doing because the media is right in front of them, whether it's the internet or the television or anything. So we need to start at their level and then slowly tune them up as we also learn. That's number one. Number two, Guruji always said, if you do not walk the talk, you tell them something, you better have that in your life. For example, he always used to say this, again, please take it with the right spirit. If you do not want your son or daughter to start drinking at a young age, then do not open a bottle of whiskey in front of them in the house. There's a lot of philosophy behind it. So it all depends, because kids do not listen to you, but they observe what you do and they will latch on to it. So walking the talk is so important, because doing a discourse on Bhagavad Gita is not difficult, but to put it in practice and to make sure that others can notice that you actually are walking the talk is very difficult. Noun is easy, verb is the most difficult thing because there's action associated with it.
Thank you, Dr. Purnaji. Lakshmiji, do you have any follow-up?
Scientific way. So now the kids will really understand and follow. Thank you.
All right. Our next question is from Deepthi, who would like to ask you a question directly. Deepthi, you are unmuted. Please go ahead.
Namaste ji. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yes.
So there is a lot of awareness among people about the misuse of vaccination and how Bill Gates is trying to forcefully vaccinate under the COVID thing to the remaining 7 billion people. And there are talks about, today kids don't get admission in schools. Tomorrow people will not get jobs, they will not get driver license, everything will be linked to vaccinations. And the more people are getting vaccinated, the more it's increasing the number of diseases. And what do you say about, how do you link all of this to Gita? Like, we are creating a sicker society with these under the pretext of saving. And yeah, so what do you say about this?
Absolutely. So Vedavyasaru basically very beautifully says, what has to happen will happen. What should not happen will never happen. It is just that when we expect and we dictate what has to happen, and when that doesn't happen, we get very disappointed or dejected or go into a depression. So if you look at what's happening, you need to cut out the fluff, the politics, the op-eds and everything else. Vaccination is something, and I'm talking to you from a very scientific point of view. Vaccination is something that has saved millions of lives, from smallpox, chickenpox, plague, you name it. Okay. So for the current condition, at least here in the US, nobody can be forced to do anything. Even today, as healthcare workers, I work in the biggest healthcare system in New York, Northwell Health. During the flu season, some of us may not want to take the vaccination or the flu shot, but we have to go into the hospital, which means to say if we are carrying that virus, we will infect somebody. We can refuse it, but we need to, number one, sign off on certain principles. Number one, if we are going anywhere near the hospital, we'll have to go with full mask and gloves. Number two, we have no entry into the operating rooms, into the ICUs. So we cannot force everybody to have a vaccination, number one. Number two, the science behind vaccination can only be derived once we have statistically significant results from vaccinating the people, okay? And one really needs to latch on to double-blind study scholarly literature and not to MSNBC, Fox, CNN in order to learn what the real clinical benefits of a certain therapy is. Unfortunately, in many cases, the news media gets very loud and creates massive confusion. We need to cut through that. Krishna says the same thing. Be very pragmatic. Be very realistic when you look at that. Do not get influenced. Unbiased. See, he says, Samadarshinaha, Panditaha Samadarshinaha. You need to go unbiased, which means to say, do not go in saying that this vaccination is bad. Do not go in saying that this vaccination is good. Let's look at the data and let's see what the scholarly clinical literature and my doctors are saying. They are your friend. And then make your conclusion based on scientific facts. And Krishna said the same thing to Arjuna. Look at what is in front of you. In front of you is the army that is going to destroy Bharata because they stand on the side of adharma. Duryodhana's edict was, everything belongs to me. It is I, me, myself. I don't care how it impacts anybody. And his every action, and with people surrounding him, especially Shakuni, it was total destruction. And he said, if you want to save humanity, save Bharata and hand it over to the reins to the right people, you have to fight this war and you have to destroy adharma. Doesn't matter whether it is your father, mother, grandfather, or whoever, because the important thing here is the greater good. So let's look at the greater good of this vaccination. Let us look at the scholarly results, hear from the experts, and then make a decision with everything in front of us. Is this right for my child or for my family? That would be the directive, and that's the directive I've heard even from the Center for Disease Control and all the probably the topmost scientists that I have talked to.
Thank you. Deepti, do you have any follow-up? Okay.
Thank you.
All right, great. We have another question from Harsha. Harsha, I will be unmuting you. But Harsha's question is, for someone who wants to read Bhagavad Gita and does not know Sanskrit, which is the most authentic version of Bhagavad Gita available today?
The simplest, basically, Dr. Radhakrishnan has written on Bhagavad Gita. Gandhiji himself has written on Bhagavad Gita. And then I find that Prabhupada's version is very comprehensive, but you got to be very careful when you read anything, because do not go there with a bias. What happens is, if you go to read anything with a bias, what you read in the Gita is not what is in the Gita. What you read is what is in your head. So in order to read what is there in Gita and get into your head, go unbiased. And Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita definitely is a good, I think it is Gita, without any interpretation, or Gita as it is what it is called. I find that to be a good step one. Of course, after that, you need to have, if you want to go deeper, the understanding of the Upanishads, the fourth wing of all the Vedas. And then you really need to read the commentaries of all the three acharyas, Shankara, Ramanuja, and Madhva, again, very unbiased. Then you can formulate your understanding and start going deeper and deeper into the meaning of Gita. It is said that Gita cannot be understood even in one life. You have to have many, many, many lives to understand. But this, it looks like a good first step. But if you know Samskrita, that's the best. Pick up, the original and read the bhashyas on that. For me, it is, what my Guruji, Banaja Govindacharya, has presented to me is the Gita Tatparya Nirnaya by Shrimad Acharya. That I find it to be the most convincing, authentic, scientific. Because for me, he has resolved a lot of doubts that usually comes with many, many of the concepts of understanding, what the inner meaning of Gita is. So you got to go step by step by step. Looks like if you, don't know Samskrita, you can definitely start with this English version.
Got it. Okay. Thank you, Purnaprasad.
Thank you. We received a question online during registration, and the question is, does religion have any role in boosting immune response of any disease? Can you correlate war between Pandavas and Kauravas to COVID-19 war?
Beautiful question. No, really. Again, it depends on how you basically, define religion. If you're defining religion as the religion we see now, it's got nothing to do with the Gita. They just use Gita as an anchor in order to self-propagate, because Gita is a work of philosophy. It's not a work of religion. It, in fact, belongs to no religion. It belongs to all religion. Krishna was a Yadava and a Kshatriya by birth. Arjuna was a Kshatriya by birth. Vedavyasaro, God knows, born between Parashara and, Satyavati, who actually was a fisherwoman. This philosophical work is for every human that has an ear to hear, a brain to think, and a cognition to appreciate. So COVID-19 is just another part or an enhancement of the Kauravas. Kauravas started, throwing each and every weaponry, each and every formations, like Padma Vyuha, in which Abhimanyu was killed, on the Pandavas. So the 5 aspects of righteousness for us, and of which the survival of the human race and the upholdment of the greater good, dharma, is very important. COVID-19 is just another enemy. And then how do we battle it? Yeah, we've got strategies to battle. We are winning the war. It's not going to be easy. It is not instantaneous. And this is not a Bollywood or a Hollywood movie. It is reality. You have to stay with it, be persistent with it, pray to Krishna to give you the strength and also the path in order to defeat this enemy. Just like how Pandavas, Bhimasena Devaru and everybody completely trusted Krishna. Here, what we need here is trust on God, conviction of our path, and resolute in our action. That's what Krishna says.
Thank you. We have a question from Venkateshwara Rao Nagam. And Venkateshwara ji, I will unmute you. Your question is, people living in the US and of them who have lost loved ones back in India are now doing rituals remotely. They are worried by doing this, are they doing their dharma correctly? Please comment.
I hope, I'll translate this into English. For this, there's a beautiful answer by Divine Purandaradasar. Whatever you do, Kelano Hari Talano, Tala Melagaliddu, Prema Villadagana. You can basically be as ritualistic as possible. You can basically take the coldest possible bath. You can basically fast, do everything. But behind all this, if you do not have that pure love to Krishna, it doesn't basically meet its final goal. It doesn't matter where you are sitting. Because if you look at the Rigveda Sukta, Vishwakarma Sukta, Vishwatas Chakshurata, Vishwatormuko, he is everywhere. You see, he is such a falter, almost, he falls at the feet of his bhaktas. Krishna, you just need to call him once with love. Krishna, I am doing this ritual, this Shraddha, in order to offer my gratitude at your holy feet and to protect and give this departed soul the right place that it deserves. Here it is, Kayana Vacha Manasindriyerva Buddhyatmanava Anusruta Swabhava Karomi Yadyat Sakalam Parasmai Sriman Narayana Eti Samarpayami. Do this, he will receive anything, anywhere. Because the entire universe is his. He is Antarbahishcha. He is outside, he is inside. For people who actually make statements that only if you do rituals in India, you are going to get the phala, is the most unscientific, unvedic way of even interpreting the basic sciences of Vedas. I'm sorry, they're ignorant. But one thing, if you can be in India and do the rituals in India, do it. Definitely there are good vibrations there. But to say that if you do in America, that you are going to lose everything is unscientific. When it is unscientific, why do we say in the Vedas, Vijnanam Dadatu? Vijnanam Dehi, Sugnanam Dehi, Bhagavad Jnanam Dehi, Dehi me Havyavahanaha. Why do we say this? And Vishwakarma Sukta says, Vishwatas Chakshurata, Vishwatormuko, Vishwato Bahuruta, Vishwataspat. If it was only in Bharata, they would basically have replaced the word Vishwato to Bharatomuko. This is common sense. And Vedas are very, very scientific. When I say science, it is as scientific as the laws of motion, thermodynamics, and the theory of relativity. One needs to understand that.
Thank you.
Sure.
Venkat, do you have any follow-up on that answer?
No, thank you, Ji. Namaste.
Okay. We received a question online, and the question is, some people have no fear these days, saying whatever will happen will happen. Is this foolishness, or is this another dimension of saying that I have a body and the body will transmigrate, so let me continue to execute my duty, and if I have to die, so be it. It's the body that dies, not me. What do you think? The way that some people approach it, would you consider that foolishness, or are they actually executing their duty, such as going to work and not being afraid and facing the world like a warrior?
They basically don't need Bhagavad Gita because they are executing Bhagavad Gita. That's exactly what Krishna says. Put your trust in me. Karmanya Madhikara said, put your trust in me, do your duty. What has to happen will happen. Give me the strength to bear what happens. And they're very correct. Just saying, I'm going to pray to Krishna, just protect me, and then going and doing all the wrong things. No. You are going to eat the fruits of your work. And if they're doing this with complete conviction, oh my God, that's extremely appreciable because they are understanding what Krishna is saying.
Thank you, Dr. Purnaprasad ji.
Sure.
There was another online question that was asked. Bhagavad Gita teaches the 4 paths: the karma yoga part, the yoga part, the gyan portion, and the bhakti. Which aspect is the most relevant that should be followed, not generally necessarily right now in the times of COVID crisis, but also beyond it, after it?
All of them, this needs to become the fabric. From karma comes gnana. The maturation of gnana becomes bhakti. From bhakti, you basically get enlightenment. All these are the string of the same algorithm. You cannot just cut out one and say, I'm going to do only dhyana. You can't just sit down and do dhyana without karma. Karma and gnana basically are, interwound. You have to work in order to achieve. You need to put your effort in order to gain the gnana. You gain the gnana, then you basically make it a fabric of your thought and action. Then you get the realization of the self. That is actually, this is the algorithmic, ladder, the 4-step algorithm that Krishna is giving you. This is whether it is pre-COVID, post-COVID, during COVID, doesn't matter. If you practice this, you are going to be a very strong soldier fighting against all these calamities that comes. It actually makes you a better human being because it said, no God gives you shikshe, no punishment. It is basically training, shikshana.
Thank you, Dr. Purnaprasad ji. We have a question from the forum. This is Shobha Rao's question. Shobha, I will unmute you after reading out your question. The question is, speaking of karma, it seems to have forgotten the address of some people. They are spared from the consequences of hurting others, creating conflicts because of their own insecurities, and causing a lot of pain to others. Will they ever face their karma?
Absolutely. Karma is what you have acquired. It is the result of your action. Basic physics. It is basically the kinetic energy that comes because you jump off the cliff. The energy has to be dissipated. the energy has to take its complete form and has to take you to the. So temporarily in a window of time, you may see people who actually are committing real bad things, just enjoying the life, but it always comes back. Karma is something that will never, never just go away. It is as scientific as the car you basically accelerate and the brake you apply in order to stop the car. It is the laws of nature.
Thank you so much.
All right. There's another question that came online. What is the most significant teaching in Bhagavad Gita that can inspire all of us to quickly come through these trying times? Do I need to read the whole Bhagavad Gita, or should I focus on a particular section?
Asking me, I would encourage you to read the whole Bhagavad Gita. It is a treasure trove. It's like saying, if you have a very delicious apple pie in front of you, you're really hungry. You won't ask me, can I just have a small piece of it? You'll take enough, right? You want to really enjoy it. So Bhagavad Gita is like, the most delicious apple pie, but will not affect your health in a rhetorical way. But one of the most significant message from the Bhagavad Gita is, do your duty and then leave the result to something much more powerful than you. Do not take the responsibility of defining and expecting the results of your action. That's the most important thing. And to be very frank, that is the most realistic and pragmatic thing. You cannot basically always predict and dictate the results of your action. You prepare for an exam, you really prepare well. Sometimes you may get an A, sometimes you may end up with a C. But the attempt is the most important thing. And assigning the result to Krishna is very, very practical, because we don't have control over it. And thinking that we are going to control it is a joke. We know that's not real.
Thank you. There is another question online, and the question is, the message of Bhagavad Gita will surely make the world a better place through this crisis as to who have read it. But how do we enable this for others who have never heard about Bhagavad Gita? How can we carry on this message of Shri Krishna to others?
Yeah, it's basically very simple. If you look at any of the yogas that basically Gita says, it gives you practical pathways. Now, for example, let's talk about one which really comes to my mind. Panditaha Samadarshinaha. It's in the 5th chapter. So you can use this in order to be a very good manager and a CEO. Samadarshinaha means it is a person who actually has developed the thought and intellect to look at anything that comes in front of him in an equitable manner. So let me give you an example. For a mango, sweetness is good, but sourness is bad. But for a tamarind, sweetness is bad, but if it is sour, it's very good tamarind. You take a lemon. If it is a sweet lemon, you don't like it. You really need that sourness. The saltness in the salt or the sweetness in the sugar. You basically see unbiased, realistically, pragmatically, what's in front of you. learn from its characteristics, and then make a judgment. In a management forum, if you are in front of your board and they are giving 7, 8 suggestions, you are going to be a failure. The management sciences tells you if you go into that boardroom with a preconceived notion of what you want, what you don't want, because the entire board may be against you. But if you go in there and say, I'm going to go with an open mind. Here are my challenges, and this is what I want to approach, but let me hear the board, what they got to say. That unbiased approach, you see that in the management literature, majority of them come out as a big winner. This samadarshinaha, panditaha samadarshinaha is so important. Look, you may be a vegetarian walking in a forest, but you cannot expect the lion there not to attack you because you're a vegetarian, can you? This is the level of pragmatism you need to have. So in today's situation, that samadarshina, unbiased, pragmatic view of what's happening, whether it is in our life, with our family, with the death that's happening, and the very slow decline towards the zero, that is the reality. Let's accept it. Now, what can I do in order to maybe make it a little faster, or what can I do to help? Is what you need to think about. But do the duty, leave the rest. You do not have control over the result because you are not independent. You are completely interdependent. You're dependent. Everything that you are is completely dependent on the Supreme.
Thank you, Dr. Purnaprasad ji. At 6:20, we will probably be stopping. So I'll source any more questions. Please, those who have joined, please send your questions. The last question that I have at the moment is, Dr. Purnaprasad ji, what is a good routine to practice during this COVID situation? What would your advice be? For example, doing physical yoga, meditation, etc. What would be an optimal advice that you can recommend?
It depends on the nature of the person, okay? Anything that is forcefully done against your own appetite will end up with a disaster. We all know that. So see what you really like. What is your routine that you like? You want to get up in the morning, maybe have a cup of tea, then take a bath. But one thing is, both yoga and meditation, incorporate that in your daily living. Meditation is for the mind, and yoga will condition the body. It doesn't have to be anything very complicated. 5 to 10 minutes of meditation every day. See if there is a teacher who can take you through guided meditation. It's much more faster and more useful because you'll be able to understand the basics. And then yoga, just to be flexible. You want your muscles to be flexible. You want your physique to be flexible, and your different cardiovascular system and pulmonary system to basically function at its prime. So the medicine for the body and the medicine for the mind. With meditation, what happens is it basically calms your body down. You can see its positive effect on your blood sugar, your blood pressure, your hypertension, and your asthma, the whole 9 yards. It's there in the medical literature. I don't have to preach to anybody. But again, do not do anything forcibly. Please understand the benefits and incorporate it as a part of your life. Do not change your lifestyle in order to do that. It should be the other way around. It should become a part of your life. Start small. 5 minutes meditation, 10 minutes yoga, and then maybe increase it as you basically become more enthusiastic to do. That would be, my humble suggestion.
Thank you, Dr. Purnaprasad ji. There is a final question to wrap this up. What inspiration can we draw from Bhagavad Gita for the emotional well-being
at this time?
That there is always Krishna with you, taking care of you, and also guiding you. You are not alone in this fight. He's always there. Let's try to make sure we remember that loneliness is not here. The very feeling, oh my God, what's going to happen? No, nothing is going to happen because the God is there would be a better approach rather than saying, oh my God, what's going to happen? And that would be the message of the Gita. Because Krishna was there, Dharma was established. And even now, Dharma is going to be established, and you will see this Kaurava called the COVID going away, though reluctantly in a slow manner, not as fast as we want. We are going to, pass through those 18 horrible days or those 18, time fragments in order to get back to some sort of a normalcy. Because, we are always being taken care of by the Purushottama. That we need to have in our mind, body, intellect, and in our action.
Thank you, Dr. Purnaprasad ji. I think, would you like to add any other words, Doctor?
I just want to thank you for the opportunity to discuss Shreemad Bhagavadgeetha with you, some of the aspects, some of the learnings, and learn from the questions that you asked and from the thoughts you brought together. I have benefited from this discussion as much as I hope you have benefited from this discussion. Thank you so much for the opportunity. This is a great blessing of Bhagavan Krishna. And I would like to say the salutation, mantra. Harihi Om Shri Kayana Vacha Manasindriyerva Buddhyatmanava Anusrita Swabhava Karomi Yadyat Sakalam Parasmai Sriman Narayana Yeti Samrapayam. Danyosmi.
Thank you very much, Dr. Purnaprasad ji. This was an enlightening session where many of us, our questions were answered. And, the belief is that the message of Bhagavad Gita was not only relevant in the past, but today, and will continue to be in the future. It is a timeless conversation that is beyond time and space. And it reminds me of what was said in Padma Puran when Lord Shiva speaks the glories of Bhagavad Gita to Parvati in Gita Mahamadhya. It was said that if one properly follows the instructions of Bhagavad Gita, one can be freed from all miseries and anxieties in this life, and one's next life will be spiritual. And because Bhagavad Gita is spoken by Lord Shri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, one need not read any other Vedic literature. One need only attentively and regularly hear and read Bhagavad Gita. And in this present age, people are so absorbed in the mundane activities that it is not possible for them to read all the Vedic literature. But this is not necessary. This one book, Bhagavad Gita, will suffice because it is the essence of all Vedic literatures, and especially because it has been spoken by Shri Krishna. And thank you so much. I would like to actually ask a question. I'm sure we will have folks who will want to try to reach you for any future follow-up. How can any of the attendees today, either on Zoom or on Facebook Live, reach out to you for further guidance?
They can actually email me. I can send you the email address, or maybe you have my email address. So please feel free to distribute my email address. I'm happy to give my thoughts wherever it would be beneficial.
Thank you very much. Pranams to you from all of us here. I will pass it on to Shri Venuji for the Shanti Mantra.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I just pasted Purnaprasadji's email ID in the chat window. If anybody has any follow-up questions, right, you can use that. And before we end this session with the Shanti Mantra, right, I just wanted to thank Dr. Purnaprasad ji for his enlightening session today. I mean, it didn't feel like, okay, we almost like spent 90 minutes. It's just like a couple of seconds. I mean, it was so engaging and it was so right on point. And I think we all learned a lot. And certainly, I think it's going to help us in our day-to-day activities and to make sure that, okay, we handle this situation well and then take care of ourselves, our family, and the community. Thank you so much, Dr. Purnaprasad ji. And I just wanted to thank one more person here who is the person who connected us with Dr. Purnaprasad ji. It was Prabhakar Rao. Prabhakar Rao is on the phone. I mean, he's joined the call today. And then when we were thinking of having something for the community in terms of spiritual discussions, right? So Prabhakar Rao ji came up with an idea we can talk to Purnaprasad ji. And in fact, Purnaprasad ji was the speaker during our Dharma Yoga festival back in 2013 when we did the 150th birthday anniversary of Swami Vivekananda. That time, Dr. ji spoke about Vedanta and modern science, and it was very well received. Maybe if they are all interested, right, maybe we can take it up again sometime in the future. So thank you so much, Purnaprasad ji, and of course, Prabhakar Rao, and also our group here, right, Vichar Manthan group, who are all supported this event and also participated in this. And of course, to all the participants who have asked the questions and also listening patiently, right, we want to thank you all. We will wind up the session with the Shanti Mantra, Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah. You can just continue to repeat when you are muted. I will just repeat the mantra here, and then you can continue to repeat by in your own houses. Okay. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah, Sarve Santu Niramaya, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Ma Kaschit Dukha Bhag Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Dhanyavad everyone. Tusharji, we can stop Facebook Live.
Yes, I'm ending the meeting.